The Monterey Bay Poetry Consortium presents Cynthia Bryant and Dione O'Reilly, recorded via Zoom, May 17th, 2020. Cynthia Bryant served the Pleasanton, California community as the Poet Laureate from 2005 to 2007 and again from 2011 to 2013. First published in 1997 by two important journals dealing with childhood sexual abuse, Cynthia has since been published in over 50 anthologies. Her poetry is on numerous websites and ebook, and she has recorded her poems for play on e-radio as well as community television. She has self-published 9 chapbooks of poetry, which are available at Amazon.com. Cynthia's poetry books, Sojourn, Pebbles in the Shoe, No Time to Shoot the Poets, Folks, Virgins of Us, have recently been accepted in the new Ina Colber Circle Library section in Sacramento State Library Special Collections Reading Room. Cynthia currently resides in Monterey, California with Alan, Oscar Wilde, and Gracie May. Website, CynthiaLaneBryant.com.
Will tomorrow find us broken spirits or reborn butterflies? It's so hard when everybody's so quiet. Is everybody there? I guess so. The second one is called Paper Dolls. Most of this is stuff I've written recently, so we may have a theme going on, guys. Paper Dolls. Tonight I dream in sepia. All beautiful brown and beige peoples against backdrops. Ellis Island, our Statue of Liberty, are teamed with them, hungry for new, better lives, the safety given in the land of the free. As the newcomers stand before officials, knives cut across foreheads, crimson streams of with a metallic smell merged with tears, slide down faces, skin peeled back to a certain countries of origin, shithole or wasp. Like the Nazis used phrenology to divine the us from them, rating all accordingly. My rational mind argues, put away your knives. No need to cause further pain. We are all the same under our skin. The slicing, bloodletting, and peeling of skin continues. As I watch young ones ripped from parents' arms, crescendoed wailings of mama echo across the corridor. Like paper dolls with no pretty clothes to wear. They are snatched, ripped, torn, and taken away to shiver in heaps along cold floors in cages. With only foil blankets for comfort, they must await their final solution. The light has gone out on Lady Liberty's lamp. Epitaph. Crow was so much blacker than the moon's shadow. He had stars. Ted Hughes, Crow. Murder of Crow. Crow came to visit the other day. Something just beeped on my screen. Crow came to visit the other day, boldly flew through an open window. Okay, hello, we're starting over. Crow came to visit the other day, boldly flew through an open door that led to the intrepid space of the father. Loyal guard dog alert at the ruckus, witness to the audacity of a strange winged creature in violation of honored space. Determined jowls clamped shut soundly around feathers and wound, offered up evidence to the mother who conveyed the lifeless one to an outside porch with a tear and prayer. Felon Crows lined the rooftop. Fenced backyard trees followed the king in procession, watched as he buried their own. Cawed grief at the untimely demise, cawed grief at the burial, cawed and cawed for days on end as they surrounded the infamous home, decrying murder of Crow. Epitaph. Hands are full of fishing rod and the tackle on our backs. We just stood there getting wet with our backs against the fence. Oh, the water, oh, the water, oh, the water. Hope it don't rain all day. Van Morrison, and it stoned me. Oh, the water. Every day I slip up to chin, back into murky waters, attempt to scry hidden points of interest, camouflaged in hyperbole, draped in misdirection. Multifaceted, well-placed, outright lies float along rusted halos, discards of a cherub Congress, believers of tainted trust. I tread these waters, unusable for solace, for unflushed squalor. Poison spreads amongst democracy, America's bane. The water thick with stench, high crimes and misdemeanors. This poem was written so that each new stanza started with one of the letters in the poem, in the title, which is stunned. So many of us snickered then as he made his way down the golden escalator with his briefly clad foreign-born trophy missus, held at her obligatory 10 paces ahead, proclaiming his urge to rule. The mass media, mesmerized, covered him, his bigly words, his mythological bleached comb-over, mercenary life mission mixed with a hubristic view of alpha male misogyny. He, before all else, everybody, he made the news every day. He made the newscast every single day. Under no circumstances were we ready to witness the presidency won, taken by a man such as this. I believe this is when the shock, the feelings of being ripped off, left unprotected began. Yet, not yet irrevocable, you caught in the headlights, unable to move to safety, look away from the accident. Narcissist, leanings favor his daughter in unfatherly ways, surrounds self with family and true believers like a godfather in the Italian mafia. Umbrella allotted to him, leaves first lady in the rain, or alone outside a car, always behind another. No second thought to her comfort, let alone her needs or existence, oblivious to the feelings of any kind in a rush to know his ratings. What Fox said about him today. Not one of his cabinet members capable of carrying out their jobs in the accepted norm. Head of education against public education. Head of EPA against climate change. Run roughshod over protections of environment. Head of Veterans Affairs, run by Billionaires Club in Mar-a-Lago. Many fired when the praises were not sung loud enough. Resigned to save his face. Lies are the goal of the day. A new statement, a new lie every day. Or the same lie over and over. Lie, repeat, then redact. Eradicate brown people. Take their children. Put them in cages. Give them away. All to deter them migrating to America to find safety, better lives for their families. Now we are thoroughly stunned as we watch the inhumanity, permanent damage done to others from so-called shithole countries. His nod to the white nationalism people over and over in hand signals, his choice of peoples to judge and help rule, his observations of people, the violence with which he suggests they be treated. Little red baseball caps tattooed with MAGA, made in Mexico, have become the new white hoods of yesterday. Despot, want to be, aligned with his hero despots. Russia, North Korea, and Saudi Arabia, the same alpha males he hails so high, does his business within treacherous secrecy. Allies held in decent past disdain holds them there. Age-old loyalties broken, tariffs charged. We shake our heads at first in disbelief, realize the headlights are coming down on us swiftly, panic toward ways to clear the chaos. Help us, Mueller. You are our only hope. Remember those days? And how long we waited? Okay, epitaph. Toto, I've got a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. Wizard of Oz. Home now. Hydrangeas bloom beneath stairs that lead to our door, safe in the shadows, climbing every day closer to sky. We remain much the same, cloistered away. Life wanes on as we search night sky, waiting for our stars to change. Epitaph. Time is the longest distance between two places. Tennessee Williams, The Glass Menagerie. How high, how far? How high, how far will the scream of a 6-year-old girl go to be heard? The scream, an immediate response to her daddy raping her. High as her heavenly Father who watched mute, high above on his golden throne. Near as her first grade teacher who responded to the broken child's confession, Daddy hurt my bottom. What did you do wrong? Blind as a mother's anger, as spilt blood on her lovely gray couch, what Daddy referred to as a nosebleed. So high, so far, the scream that had torn the girl asunder, split time that took 40 more years to catch up. In a room where women gathered to catch childhood screams, capture the terror, capture the rage, capture the totality of betrayal. Finally to be heard. Epigraph. Sometimes an accident can be an unhappy woman's best friend. Dolores Claiborne, Stephen King. Turpentine. I was only 18 months old the day she walked into the den, found me sitting on Daddy's lap, green dragon robe open, my chubby hand closed around his main concern. Mom was sure such hateful behavior was inherited from my young birth mother, who could not keep her legs together. The bad seed was showing. Several days later, as the story goes, we visited some friends. An open Coca-Cola bottle on the floor, close to the house, painting underway. I drank a big gulp, screaming in pain. That is how the accident happened. How terror grew while masked men crammed tubing down my throat into a stomach on fire. Now tell the story true. Roll it over in your minds. Who would put turpentine in a Coke bottle? Leave a toddler alone to find it. Label a baby the other woman. Epitaph. 'Cause we'll make it to a love supreme, palm trees and breeze. I'm dreaming of a love supreme, of a love supreme, of a love. John Coltrane, artist. White supremacy. Am I really superior? How can that be? Thin skin, milky white, created in absence of love, sold on the black market. I crawled on bloody knees through emotional obscurity to now. As I look about, I see every hue of upright human doings. Plush tones run the gamut, of albino white to darkest night. Happily housed souls, the family of humankind. Even color of eyes give little hint of what character of soul peers through. Each have sulked in poverty to increments of gilded wealth, nailed down to many or no God, experienced joy and loss. Beside the necessary differences of male to female anatomy and amorphous others, spectrum of all remains the same. Have the same viscous fluids that maintain life on the inside, loose in each moment when erupted to air, flowing on the ground, circle the drain. Our emotions are all that separates souls. Allow self-loathing, hatred of others to divide us. We cannot detect from sight that which makes that atom split, makes us destructive to one another. Superiority does not exist in a world where all were created from stardust with misfit genes that only enhance imperfections. Okay, 3 more. Show us the way. While past presidents rasp and rail unheard in their graves, the Constitution is shredded and into worthless trash. Rule of law bent out of any shape known to the people. Greed, fear, selfishness has moved into American homes. The golden rule ousted onto the streets, homelessness without sustenance or hope. I am grateful for Facebook's funny animals who show us how to survive with humor, with compassion for one another of different species, celebrate being alive and simple daily shenanigans, unaware of the chaotic churning of human stomachs, minds addled with retrogression, heartsick over upsurges and waves of violence by children, of children who wait now for their moment at the turnstile of death. I breathe deeply, surrounded by my man and 4-footed family, vaguely aware that the time to allow the darkness to pass has begun. A debridement through blighted spirit, elute sepia back to technicolor, reclaim homeostasis, our humanity. Epitaph. We're trying, we're hoping, we're hurting, we're loving, we're crying, we're calling, because we're not sure how this goes. Calling all angels, Katie Lang and Jane Siberry. Transformation 2020. Who of us could have imagined living in a time of so much hurt and harm? We scratch through the dustbin of history for an understanding yet to be shown. We revile the wagging tongue spewing poison daily on screens large and small. The pictures of dead bodies piled high, most never able to say goodbye. The tireless unsung service workers beyond weary in their bones and minds. Less cars going to work, less planes in the air, factories closed to save lives. Fresh produce left to rot, farm animals raised only to euthanize. The hungry are hungrier, the poor poorer. Easy targets for a ravenous virus, selfish society. And yet feral creatures come back out. The air is fresher, freer of pollutants. The earth quieted hums with harmony. People scream, yell, demand their rights, a reopening of things back to normal. Our mother sings. Reopening begins with our minds and hearts. And this one will be my last. I believe in love. When the time comes, a last memory of cool rain, long dried on once slick city streets, that sparkled of starlight, quiet now, but for an occasional gust of wind rustling litter along gutters. Folks barely bothering to open their doors, knowing at once a world better spent in recollection. Inside, candles burn, splaying light across four walls. A hum rises from inner sanctum, a memory of a song. How did it go again? I believe in love. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. That was great. You know, what a perfect poem to end and get us looking forward. These are really tough times. Okay, Dione, thank you for being with us, and it's over to you.
Dione O'Reilly's debut collection, Ghost Dogs, was published in February 2020 by Terrapin Books. Her work appears in Poetry Daily, Verse Daily, Narrative, the New Ohio Review, the Massachusetts Review, New Letters, Sugar House Review, Rattle, The Sun, and other literary journals and anthologies. Her poetry has been nominated for several pushcarts and been shortlisted for a variety of prizes. She is a member of the Hive Poetry Collective, which produces podcasts and events, and she teaches ongoing workshops on a farm in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Learn more at dioneoreilly.wordpress.com.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And even with Zoom, I think that poetry creates a sacred space. So thank you for putting this together and supporting Capital Books. I know we all love our independent bookstores and we all love poetry. So Ellen Bass, my first teacher, always does a little spiel when she reads, and it's, remember to support poets and bookstores by buying collections of poetry. There are so many good collections that are new, like mine, that the poets were not able to tour and promote their books. Ellen Bass has a new book out called Indigo. Danusha Lamaris has a new book out called Bonfire Opera. Natalie Diaz, Post-Colonial Love Poem. There are so many good poetry books. So we all love poetry, so let's support our local bookstores and our poets by walking the walk and not just talking the talk. So I just wanted to say that. And I'll start with a COVID poem that I wrote called Myth of Bat Soup. Oh, let me just say that at first I read that Corona was caused by bat soup. And so I Googled bat soup and I looked at pictures and they're horrendous. The little bat is just sitting right there in the broth staring at the person eating the soup. So I wrote a poem about bat soup and then read it to my husband. He said, I don't think that's really what caused corona because it's boiled. So I looked it up and it's not really what caused corona, but I kind of wanted it to be. So I wrote this poem anyway and called it Myth of Bat Soup. It's got an epigraph. No, coronavirus was not caused by bat soup. Headline from health.com, 2nd February 2020. Let's imagine her as she stirs the broth. Bits of wild mushrooms, raw scallions, white onion wilted in salt heat. Coconut cream, galangal, small bones of wing and foot. How could I blame her? There was a time I'd eat anything. Unwind my tongue like a lizard as I walk the tangies among turtle eggs and steer hooves, wreathing larvae. I wanted it all. Why else travel? I said to my horrified daughter as she watched me eat lungs bloated in blood, sprigged with fresh cilantro. But now I see my imaginary cook, hair pulled back, her young face gleaming with steam, breathing in the sea smell of soup, rich concoction, lightly simmered, decanted to delicate bowls inscribed with frozen birds. And I wonder why we can't stick with the humble chicken, bread for swollen breasts, no life outside our cages. Aren't fish enough? Reaped? No, carved? Let's say racked out of the deep with trawlers or bulldozers, whatever instrument to feed the wild rising need, the unslaked appetite. Did she taste the distemper hidden in the kelpie broth? Did she begin to sicken before the porcelain spoon touched the last furry scrap? If she lived, did she still look at the top of trees, to the black, glinting hieroglyphics scribbled across the night? Yummy. Okay, now I'm going to read from my book, Ghost Dogs. This one's called Everything That's Old. Jets are the new motorhomes. Chemtrails are the new clouds. The unknown dead on an island are the calm before storm. Robots are the new immigrants. Roundup is the new hoe. Colbert is the new Cronkite. Smoke is the new sky. Drought is the new summer. Cars are heart disease. Dust is lawn. Downtown is the new homeless. Amazon, the new mall. Retired is the new nomad. Needles are the new rusty nail. Plastic, the new lead. Viral, the new headline. Posting, the new protest. The horizon of the Western Ocean is the new ghost of Godzilla. The Cold War is the new Cold War. Fire heading down a suburban street is wind. Anxiety is the new air. The Earth's crust is the weak eggshell of a songbird. I've noticed when I gulp that it's really loud on Zoom. So brace yourself. I'm going to gulp. I hope that wasn't too loud.
We didn't hear a thing.
Okay, well, I kind of pulled back. Okay. It's kind of embarrassing. Glug, glug. Okay. Okay, I wrote this poem after I read that after World War II, African Americans did not get the same kind of home loans and GI Bill as white GIs did. And I wrote this poem after I read that. It's called Given. If my family were never allowed an American morning of low-interest home loans given to white boys like my dad, returned from the war demented by jungle juice, the ear sting of mortar fire, but ready for Stanford on the veteran dole. And if he never bought World Book encyclopedias, left them around for me to look at anytime I wanted, with all those endless facts about planets and Max Planck, or the hardbacks he gave me about pioneers in a dugout, protected by a bulldog and a shotgun, without that, would I have known what I wanted was of the mind and its nimble mirrors? Look what I had, a ranch, the land empty, a wide wilderness of neglect, stretching between the daily harms of my mother with her Elizabeth Taylor eyes and home-butchered rabbit stoles. She lent me the hours when she threw me away, all the time I wanted to inspect wolf spiders and wade in river shallows, to hide beneath a wet bar and suck my thumb, rub the blanket silk edge on my cheek, hold a book close to my face like a beloved. Is there a way to make it wonderful? Bone bruises purpling the points of my patella, knees dragged over gravel and ground in with mud, my mom red hot with disgust when I couldn't chase chickens into cages. I could go downtown to Woolworth's, find DC Comics spinning on a wire altar, read about a girl in a red cape, see words like orphan baby from a blown up world saves the earth. Buy them for an easy dime and 2 pennies, found glittering casually on the closet floor among the many colors of my mother's high-heeled shoes. That was from my book, Ghost Dogs 2. I write a lot in the book about the farm, growing up on a farm, and the beauty of it and how nature can save your life. This is another one called Rivervale. We slammed screen doors. We set out shoeless on paths of powdery sand, smelled the pockets of cool air rank with black mud. Maple trees leaned in and dropped leaves that rested like bruised hands on the skin of the water. None of our mothers bitched out tasks. No pimped-out sisters or fatherless boys. No pack-eyed stepfathers drunk in lazy boys. Gone the smell of spilled beer and rat turds. We learned downstream. We learned leaving. We learned someday. Herons lifted their great bodies from the stream bed, shining fish caught in their tapered beaks, and the agony twisting in the air made sense. We looked to the world beneath the clear surface with its teeming minnows. We pushed shin deep through the creek, crawdads hiding, black pincers pointing out. We snatched steelhead and trout. We drank the water. This is one of the last ones I'm going to read from my book. And one of the great things about my mother, there are so many inspiring things that I have gotten from her as a poet. But one of the best things about my mother is all you have to do is write down the stuff she says, and you got a poem. You got a poem of the moment, because there's so much contained in just these little passing pieces of conversation I have with her. And this is one of those poems. I'm going to read you a couple in a row, I think, so you can get the full benefit. Here we go. Dead dog. When I find her behind the barn, she's feeding pellets to the Rhode Island Reds, the Plymouth Rocks, and buff Orpington hens, the strutting cockerel she plans to cook. My mother looks up when she hears me, and I wonder if she's sick, so baby-like around the eyes and the pinch of her mouth. A heavy feed bucket pulls her to one side as she limps toward me, opens her lips, so wide I'm afraid she'll vomit. Instead, she tells me she killed her father's dog 65 years ago. It was my grandmother who made her do it, a jealous woman who wanted her husband to love only her. Now my mother, nearly 90, weeps as she confesses he never stopped looking for that dog. I listen and wonder at her choice of regret. Why not the hot, wet washcloths slapped across my face at dinner? The purple slash of the bullwhip? The way she slung my small body onto the backs of unbroke horses, let the ground bend my bones. I feel a weakness in my thighs, like I'm catching the flu. Her suffering ambushes my white blood cells, roughs up the tissue of my throat. I almost feel sorry for her until I look down at my miraculous body, lucky, alive. I think I'll go from bad mothers to bad boyfriends. It's another one of my topics. They go together. First one, then the other. Okay, this one is called Peacock. All Leafs punk friends hated me with my mullet and sellout job. No skin-tight glamour or heroin pallor. I followed his band around Seattle like an orphan follows a stand-in dad. Prayed a wave of energy might pass through him, a God particle oscillate his bones enough to feel me. But then, oh victory, he took a walk with me. The night full of wind, a storm lifting water from Lake Washington like it might become sky and drown us. He wrapped me in his arms, drove me home on his motorcycle to his bed, then fell asleep without touching me. And so it went for many years. There's more to the story, but I like best how much I craved him. Second best, how much I hated him when he took a second woman. I like to remember my fevered jealousy when he stole my peacock feathers, gifted them to her like a bouquet. How he let me smell her perfume on his sweater, watched me scream my dirtiest epithets as he fingered his guitar. It was 40 years ago. My anger tore like a fire break against a greater flame. I like to think I'll never burn like that again, but I could. It's never too late to believe a beautiful story, start a war to keep it true. Gulp, gulp. When I was still a girl, still a teenager, I was in a house fire, and I burned off 80% of my skin. And was in the hospital for a long time. And another thing I write about is little bits of that experience as it comes back to me. And this is, lately I've been writing about that, and this is a story about that time in my life. Big sister. Let's say she kept her promise, lifted me from the tub. Let's say she watched Bonanza and waited as I scrubbed my sores, ran a flannel over my wasted thighs, the warts and moles, blemishes and fat flamed away by fire. Let's pretend she said, "I'm sorry," when she dropped me, slammed my head on the porcelain ridge, a deep ring beginning in my ears. I would have understood. It's difficult, even for a grown woman, to carry a wet, burned girl. Let's say she tried again, and this time managed my slippery body, toweled my florid scars, rib ridges, and vertebrae, threaded my arms through the sleeves of a robe, helped me to the couch, talked to me a while, said she'd visit tomorrow, because my friends didn't know what to do with me. I couldn't take my skin to the beach, couldn't feel my life beginning. Let's say, as I lay in the tub, dazed, she didn't scream, "Look at you, I can't stand it." Didn't slam the door, leave me alone, didn't floor it up the driveway in her beat-up VW. Let's say she wanted to lift me up, but no one taught her how. Let's say that. Okay, I got two more. I want to read one of my moon poems. Every month when the full moon comes, I've been writing a poem about the moon because the Native Americans have a different name from every moon. You might know that. We know, well, there's blue moon. That's a different thing. There's wolf moon and there's pink moon. In May, it was called flower moon. I wrote a poem for that, but this is for February. It's called Hunger Moon, February 9th, 2020. Hunger Moon watches us fast while the world freezes, while game is thin and there's nothing to eat but a fatless rabbit and a dirty root in the starving linger of winter. Storm moon, snow moon, we say. But this year, sun for weeks, dry wind downs a power line, sets a pine ablaze. No rain, no cloak of morning frost, meadowgrass bent beneath a crystal sheet. But isn't this a hunger? A desire for winter so deep my bones feel like dust, my gut hollow, waiting for the rhythm of rainfall, swept from the windshield as I drive downtown to buy picuda oil, shade coffee, Chilean grapes. I want it all. The tap on the flue, the wood stove fueled by a wet fallen oak, the thrill moment of takeoff, droplets on my window pushed back by a great force. Even in summer, when the garden is a reckless mess of cress and fat-bottomed squash, hunger moon, you follow me. And this is my last one. This is an old one. I used to call this my Stairway to Heaven poem because it was popular. I wanted this one to be in Ghost Dogs, but my publisher didn't want it. She didn't want me to use the F word. So she wanted me to change it to fornicate. And because I thought that would sound just hideous, I refused. And I gave her another poem. I gave her a different poem. Unfortunately, the other poem I gave her had the word shit in it. So I had to change that too. But we worked it out. So this one should have been in Ghost Dogs. I went to Thailand. I don't usually do things like that. I usually don't travel that much. But my friend Jamie Siebert leads tours where you get to ride elephants, and she was only going to lead a few more, so I went to Thailand and rode elephants, which I really found unpleasant. Just really, Even though I'm an equestrian, I don't think these elephants want me sitting on them. But anyway, this is the poem that came out of that. This is my last one. Must. The word for when bull elephants are straight up crazy. To smash, fuck, and kill. Their penises longer than yardsticks, erect, for months at a time, a stream of urine dribbling stench, sludge of hormones leaking from their temples and running into their mouths. They tell the truth with trumpet, stomp, and stink. No veneer in the few wild islands of green that remain, while in zoos and the streets of Burma, the spell lasts only days. Because they're chained, starved, held in solitary. Weakening the body weakens the frenzy. What else can be done? There's no realm vast enough for such delirium. I think of the rough boys I grew up with, the ones who hunted and ate squirrels, the flesh gamey and smelling of bay trees. The barefoot trails my friends walked to the creek are gone, and so are the steelhead, snagged on wormy hooks, cooked in a blaze on the rocky floodplain. Teddy Roosevelt said, "War is imperative among honorable men," hoping his sons returned with missing limbs. Muhammad Ali, what would he have done without his elegant power? Arjuna, even, how to spread the holy word whispered to him by Krishna, if not by rendering it in blood. How can the male sex give it up? Their smooth ivory flashing in the savannah sun, the gore and puncher, the strong seamen sending exactly who they are into this diminishing world. Thank you, everyone. That was really fun.
Thank
I
you.
could feel you out there.
That was wonderful.
We're there.
Just those
Yeah.
lines that were capturing the nimble mirrors of the mind.
By the way, that mirror's not as nimble as it used to be.
Nonetheless, it still shines and reflects. So that's what. Okay. Well, look. Thank you so much. This was our first attempt at this. I think it went pretty well. And thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
And, our next reading is Sunday, June 14th. It's to be announced. John Lowy, who's over there in that corner, at least in my monitor, will be attending to that, and we'll get the word out. And I expect, in fact, I'm almost certain we will be doing this virtually again. As my grandmother used to say, we will get better as we improve. And I think it's going to be another good reading. This was a wonderful beginning. Thank you, Cynthia and Dione. That's great. Well, good, folks. Well, thank you all very much. I'm going to ask Cynthia and Dione to stay on with me for a little bit here. And we'll see all of y'all, all as my friends in Dallas say, all y'all. Next month, and certainly off and on in between now and then, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so
Bye.
much.
Thank you.